Just a disclaimer, the opinions expressed in this podcast are our own views and views of our guests. Nothing in this podcast is to be taken as legal advice.
Your LexisNexis legal research and AI technology experience is now even more powerful with Lexis Plus AI, now with Protégé, your personalised AI assistant that will transform your legal work. Find out more today at lexisnexis.co.nz.
Kia ora, tēnā koe, and welcome to our podcast, That's Just Criminal, with me, Annabel Cresswell, and my co-host,
Sumudu, Thode.
Who have we got in the studio today, Sumudu? Well, the answer is actually no one is in the studio with us today, but we do have a surprising and important guest. Who is it?
Well, it's the Secret Barrister, who we'd been hoping to talk to since you and I started talking about doing this podcast. And we have finally got the Secret Barrister on our episode today.
Now, for those of you who need some introduction to who the Secret Barrister is, most of us who are barristers know who the Secret Barrister is, a UK barrister who was writing a blog and then that turned into a book. But Sumudu, tell us a little bit more for those who don't know who he is, or she, because the whole thing about the Secret Barrister is they are secret, so we don't know if it's a male or a female.
The Secret Barrister is a barrister. They specialise in criminal law. They're an author, a blogger. They've written for The Times, The Guardian, and a bunch of other newspapers and journals. They've won some awards for being a blogger of the year. But the thing that we know the Secret Barrister for is the books that the Secret Barrister's written. So the first one was in 2018 called The Stories of the Law and How It's Broken. And that was followed in 2020 by The Fake Law, and then in 2022 by Nothing But the Truth.
And what the Secret Barrister does is shines a light on those issues that matter and are of importance to those of us who practice criminal law. Even though he's in the UK, a lot of the same issues matter, legal aid. And not only does he shine a light on those issues, but he also shines a light on how interesting, changeable, dramatic our job is and all the good stories that come with it.
Yeah, I think it's just an explanation of the criminal justice system and all how it works, whether you're a defendant, a victim, a lawyer, a prosecutor, just from every angle. And I guess the reality is that whichever angle you look at it, it's broken.
And you'll hear even today how much the Secret Barrister does not dance around that topic, makes no issue of the fact that he or she believes that the system is very much broken and a dumpster fire, train wreck, burning to the ground. In our earlier episodes, we used to have a sound effect for that. So we need to bring that back.
I think so too.
Yeah, but the only thing we need to explain before we get right into it is that because the Secret Barrister is someone that we don't know, they're not with us, and we have to ask the questions, and then you're going to hear that his or her voice is disguised. This is not the real voice of the Secret Barrister, but these are the real, genuine answers from the Secret Barrister. So, Sumudu, do you want to ask the first question? Because it's a question that I personally hate, and it normally gets asked to women, but we don't know if this is a woman or a man, so it's potentially not sexist.
Potentially not. So the first question was, how do you find the time to be a barrister and write, blog, tweet? And does that at times come at the expense of your family or personal life?
And I think the general question was kind of, do you have a good work-life balance? So let's have the answer, Secret Barrister.
The rather unhappy answer is that as the criminal justice system in England and Wales slowly burns to the ground...
You see, dumpster fire burning to the ground. Carry on.
And the burdens on criminal barristers increase exponentially, my time to write, blog, tweet and see my family diminishes. I am far less prolific now than when I first started out, and any writing I do find time for does, I am afraid to say, come at the expense of my family life. They are long-suffering and incredibly patient.
Well, I think we can all relate to that, can't we?
I am probably not a positive advertisement for a healthy work-life balance. Having a partner who isn't in the legal profession helps me to break away from my cocoon of criminal justice, even if I'm not very good at making free time for it to happen.
I think that's absolutely right. My partner is also not a criminal lawyer or a lawyer at all. And it does make a difference because he regularly tells me to shut up and stop talking about what I think are fascinating work stories. And that means you have to talk about something else. And sometimes you wouldn't. I know so many couples who are in the industry who they must do this all day and then go home and talk about it all night and debate it. And I don't know how that would be. I'm very glad that sometimes I'm not listened to.
But the flip side of that is sometimes when I'm away and working and I'm staying with other lawyers that I'm doing the trial, you know that it's 10 o'clock at night and you're still talking about work and you're still doing work and you just don't switch off. So I completely agree with the whole, having a partner or friends or people that just aren't in the profession and you can talk about something else.
Okay, Secret Barrister. Can we shorten that somehow? To Secret. So, Secret, how did you first come up with the idea to write stories of the law and how it's broken? Was the idea to be anonymous from the get-go, or did that happen along the way?
Credit for the idea of stories of the law and how it's broken must go to my agent, Cresswell. He found my anonymous blog and left a message asking whether I had any interest in writing a book, and it all rather spiraled from there. I hadn't previously given any thought to writing a book, but with Chris's help, we put together a pitch which ultimately became the first book. We knew early on that we would draw on my real-life cases for inspiration in critiquing the system, and anonymity was necessary to protect the people in those stories.
You have been described as a junior, but you describe yourself as a junior barrister, but you've been working since at least 2015 from what we can work out. So do you still describe yourself as a junior or an intermediate barrister?
Technically, I'm still a junior barrister. Any barrister who isn't a King's Counsel is a junior barrister, but I'm probably approaching the stage where I'd be considered a senior junior.
That's interesting. So you're either a junior or a KC, nothing in between. KC. I think that would be quite soul-destroying because they're not, especially the amount of barristers practicing over there, not everyone's going to get to be a KC, are they? And so, Secret, do you have an apprentice junior or do you actively encourage juniors to enter into the profession or find something less broken and more rewarding?
I have supervised pupils, trainee barristers, and I speak to a lot of law students looking to enter the profession. My advice tends to be fairly uniform. The job of being a criminal barrister is hard and getting harder. You will be working in a broken system which, each passing day, breaks a little more. It takes a significant toll on your personal life and your health. You will rarely, if ever, be thanked or praised for your efforts. Indeed, politicians will delight in telling the public you serve that you are the root of all evil in society. And in the early years, you may find that you struggle to earn enough to live on.
Anyone involved in the system will know that it's broken, whether you're a defendant, a victim, even lawyers, police, judges, we all know that the system is broken. But what I tell juniors is if we do our part, then maybe the system is less broken.
But, if you know all of that and you are going in with your eyes open, it is still one of the best jobs you can do. You will be doing something that matters. No day is ever the same. No day is ever dull. You will see the best and worst of humanity and will spend every day in a constant heady rush of adrenaline. There is nothing else like it, which is why, despite all of my complaints, I am still here.
And I think this answer is actually one of the reasons why I really love the books, because it's in your face truth and honest. And any criminal lawyer who's reading the book can understand exactly what that is. It's like, it's shit, but it's amazing. And you have to do it.
X-bombs all over the place here. It's just like it is soul destroying and uplifting all on the same day. The highs and the lows, somehow you just get hooked on them.
I just don't think that once you've done criminal law, I just don't know how you could go and do something else.
No one ever does. When we were younger and people would say, I'm giving up the criminal law, we used to put money on and take stakes on how soon it would be that they'd come back. Because anyone who's done it properly, they always come back.
Yeah. I knew somebody who was a police prosecutor and then they wanted to get away from criminal law for a while, so went and did insurance. And I said, I'll give you 6 months. Like, it's not going to last. And I think it lasted a couple of months. And then they were on the phone going, yeah, this sucks. And I was like, yeah, I told you so. But so moving on, The Secret Barrister, you won podcast awards. How do you accept awards and maintain secrecy?
I usually send a willing stand-in to accept awards on my behalf. My editor once accepted an award dressed as a barrister. It was quite the scene.
So being anonymous gives you the opportunity to write about your cases and views on other lawyers and policies, government, judiciary, without too much of a backlash. Have you been recognised by anyone in the profession? Have you had someone sort of recognise that you are the secret barrister?
Happily, nobody in the legal profession knows who I am. People have discussed the secret barrister with me and asked if I know who it is, but nobody has yet put 2 and 2 together.
I'm not sure you could go under the radar in New Zealand. I think we're far too small and somebody would put 2 and 2 together. But I also think it's really interesting that they're not doing this for fame. They're not doing this for social media likes or anything like that. They're genuinely doing this to educate the public and I guess expose the justice system from the inside.
Shortly after the first book was published, an opponent in court asked me if I'd read it. As I stumbled an unconvincing, no, but I think I've heard of it, they confidently informed me. It's not funny. It's supposed to be funny, but it's not. Which was me told.
That's embarrassing for everyone, really. For him and for the person going, do you know who the secret barrister is? And literally talking to the secret barrister. I wonder if they'll ever know.
In the event that they're listening to our podcast, they'll go, oh, that was me. I said his book was stupid.
Yeah, I doubt it. Our podcast with the disguised voice is not going to be the thing that lifts the veil of who the secret barrister is.
Hey, you never know. Weirder things have happened.
What measures do you have to go to, secret barrister, to keep your identity a secret? Would you ever consider outing yourself?
Fortunately, the media interest in my identity has died down after a spell of intense speculation, with journalists approaching other lawyers to try and dig out who I am. When we have given face-to-face or telephone interviews, we have asked journalists and producers to sign NDAs, so there is a fairly chunky segment of the media which is legally forbidden from reporting anything relating to my identity, which assists. I have no intention to out myself. It would be all but impossible to continue the day job and continue writing if my real name were known.
We didn't get asked to do any NDAs or anything like that, did we, Sumudu?
No.
He must trust us to keep it a secret. And also because we don't know.
Because we have no idea.
Yeah.
We don't know if it's male or female.
That's right. We didn't have
know.
to sign an NDA because we didn't get close enough. So I suppose secret barrister must actually go and meet journalists sometimes and then they have to sign an NDA because they've seen them. So some people know. A big issue we have in New Zealand at the moment are low wages of police officers and officers leaving for overseas. You discuss lack of resources and how it leads to inexperienced staff, substandard police investigations and evidence in court, and that this in turn leads to an unfair trial for the defendant. And that's something that bothers all of us in our system here in New Zealand too. When you're prosecuting, have you discussed this lack of under-resourcing with the constables or more senior police staff? What's been their response in relation to the inexperienced staff and the impact on justice?
Everybody in the system is aware of the problem with under-resourced police forces and inexperienced and poorly trained staff. The problem is that the senior police are limited in what they can actually do within the budgets that politicians set, and are beholden to targets set by those same politicians. There are plenty of politicians calling for increased conviction rates for whatever crime is in the headlines on any given day. Very few politicians campaigning for the police to have proper training on disclosure.
I completely and utterly agree.
Standby and reserve trials are a source of frustration here in New Zealand. For those who are not criminal lawyers, standby or reserve trials are trials that are the backup trial. So you have to be ready to go ahead with your trial if another trial falls over. So you're all ready with your own witnesses and prepped, but you may or may not get on. And sometimes you think, oh, it's not getting on, and you start to relax and look forward to the weekend, and then you're just told at 5 p.m. on a Friday, the number one trial for the week's fallen over, you're going, or you turn up ready to go and thinking that it's going to get on, and then the trial ahead of you gets on. So it's quite a frustrating thing, isn't it, Sumudu? And it does also lead to prosecutors not being ready and people running trials when they aren't as ready as they should be.
Oh, absolutely. It's just kind of like, hey, you might have to work Monday, you might have to work Tuesday, but it might be Thursday, you just don't know. And it's a real frustration for everybody because people have to take time off work if they're witnesses and you just don't know when it's going to happen, or you're just kind of sitting around waiting. Yeah, and for the defence as well, it's hard to sort of say to your client, hey, look, you might kick off, you might need a week off work, your witnesses might need to turn up this day, that day. It's hard for defence lawyers as well, because do you take some other work on or do you not?
Do you go home and put your sweats on and write submissions in bed?
Or do you have to now do an opening and prepare your cross-examination?
Put makeup on and high heels. Anyway, has the UK's situation with backups improved since you aired your frustrations in the book?
They've got worse, unfortunately. Since the book was written, the backlog in the Crown Courts has reached record levels, close to 80,000 cases. This is as a direct result of funding cuts and the government's catastrophic mismanagement of the justice system during COVID-19.
5 years down the track, even here, we are still seeing the effects of COVID-19. But to add to that, in New Zealand, we've got funding cuts, change in government, change in legislation. And I think it's actually just general mismanagement of the justice system rather than just being COVID.
It is now common for cases to take 5 years to come to trial, and many of those years will be spent floating in the courts as backer or floating trials, meaning defendants and witnesses wasting hours, days, even weeks of their lives hanging around court buildings only to eventually be told, no justice for you, and sent away to wait for another year or two. Your LexisNexis legal research and AI technology experience is now even more powerful with Lexis Plus AI, now with Protégé, your personalized AI assistant that will transform your legal work. Find out more today at lexisnexis.co.nz. Now, back to the episode.
See what I mean? Like, he or she is not a master of understatement. It's all, this is a direct result of the government's catastrophic mismanagement. But I mean, agreed. We've kind of got used to going, oh yes, that's not so well managed. Yes, we do have issues with our justice system.
But this is just how it is, and we just get on with it. That seems to be our attitude, right? Like it's broken, but we can't do anything about it, so we just soldier on.
The Secret Barrister is like, this is a dumpster fire. And that's where we need the sound in there, Jane.
This is the same system in New Zealand, right? Annabel and I have a case at the moment where the jury trial, the next hearing is 2 years away.
Yeah, and it's a homicide.
This person would have been in custody for 3 years before they get to trial.
And so if they're found not guilty, they're just done a 3-year sentence for nothing.
Yeah, they just go, oh, off you go.
Yeah, sorry about that. And then try and explain that to people in the family. It's just like, sorry about our system.
The flip side is, somebody's lost their family member and they've got to wait for 3 years until a trial as well. Their lives are on hold as well as our clients.
Yeah. Quite a few people wanted us to ask about late disclosure leading to aborted trials. That's been a big thing here, and we've brought in various things, haven't we, in the New Zealand courts to try and deal with late disclosure. Significant waste of resources, constant source of frustration for defence bar and the judiciary, as well as the Crown, no doubt. Do you have any practical suggestions as to how this situation can improve?
Nothing more imaginative than better training and more resources. Many of the problems I see with disclosure are due to the police simply not understanding what is required of them and failing to draw the prosecutor's attention to the existence of material which is clearly disclosable.
One of the frustrations that we've got at the moment is the technology in courts just not being fit for purpose. So the police are still recording interviews on DVDs, like the actual DVDs. And when we're playing these in court, there's a DVD player that needs to be played. I mean, the number of times that they've been scratched or damaged, or the sound's not working, or there's some other issue in court, I think every lawyer can talk about the delays that this causes. They can talk about the inefficiency of this archaic system. Is that the same situation in the UK?
Yes, the IT systems that the police and Crown Prosecution Service use are also to blame in many cases, as they are wholly dysfunctional and often result in material falling through the cracks between the systems.
Secret Barrister, what's your take on the really hard cases? Do you love or hate those?
I enjoy a challenge, not least as some of the most unwinnable cases have later transpired to be those in which the client was, terrifyingly, completely innocent.
Yeah, those are terrifying, much, much more stressful when they are innocent. In New Zealand, we have counsel of choice for legal aid files for more serious offences. Do you have the same thing there in the UK? And does it cause problems between lawyers sometimes, where you've got lawyers trying to get the good clients and compete for those kind of clients?
For the high-profile cases?
Yeah.
It is less of an issue at the bar in England and Wales due to the surplus of work. There are more cases than there are barristers to handle them, so stealing clients is not really a thing. Among solicitors, however, there are still sometimes issues due to the funding structure of legal aid for solicitors. Some cases, particularly cases with many thousands of pages of evidence, pay disproportionately highly, and rogue firms will use dirty tricks to try and poach defendants in those cases. It shouldn't happen, but we all know that it does.
Do you think that happens much here, Annabel?
I don't want to say. Generally, we have a pretty collegial bar.
I think by and large, the defence lawyers in New Zealand are courteous and respectful. Secret Barrister, are legal aid pressures still encouraging lawyers to avoid those tricky cases or defendants, or pleading guilty at the last minute and not carrying out all the preparation that they perhaps should?
As the volume of cases increases, and as cases themselves become more complex due to the explosion of digital evidence, the pressure grows to unsustainable levels. There has been an exodus of criminal barristers, meaning far more work falls on the shoulders of a shrinking pool of people. No barristers that I know of are deliberately avoiding tricky cases or awkward defendants, but I am acutely aware that I am rarely as prepared as I would wish to be, and I know that that feeling is widespread. It is not so much lack of funding as the sheer weight of the work that is now required of us. Funding plays a role insofar as a lack of it means that work does not get done in other parts of the system, for example by the CPS or by defence solicitors, and gets pushed onto counsel as the public-facing court to fix. As a result, my job is rarely restricted to doing my job. It is fixing the multitude of problems caused by other people not doing theirs.
Can you relate to that, Annabel?
That's the constant battle we have, isn't it? What advice would you recommend to those in a small island with a broken system just like yours?
Don't let politicians or newspaper proprietors persuade you that criminal justice is only something that affects criminals and lawyers. It is the foundation of civil society and needs resourcing and respecting accordingly. Elect politicians who recognise this, instead of politicians who only want to talk about criminal justice when they smell a political advantage.
Yes, and then all they want to say is be tough on crime, tough on crime. That is not helpful to anybody.
It's just a tagline that's going to get them votes, right? It's not actually going to fix the system.
Exactly. Defendants seem to be popularly conceived as wasting time and money and getting off lightly. Some members of the public seem to value a harsh and fast approach of tough on crime over due process. Is there any way that the profession can make the public see the value in resourcing the criminal justice system, or is it just a matter of waiting for another miscarriage of justice to capture the media's attention?
I cling to the hope that better public legal education can incrementally help to reunite the public with their justice system and foster an understanding that effective criminal justice is for all of us, not just for criminals.
And that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, is not just for lawyers, it's for the public to understand what we do and to get a glimpse of what we do from the inside.
But, at present, it remains the same sad story. Many people only appreciate the value of functioning criminal justice when they are dragged kicking and screaming into the system, by which time it is often too late.
So, Secret Barrister, do you think that change has to start at a political level?
I do. Politicians of all stripes have a civic responsibility to faithfully and accurately represent and uphold the laws that Parliament makes, and to defend the independence of the judiciary. We too frequently see the opposite. Right now, for example, the Shadow Lord Chancellor, the man who, if his party wins the next election, will have to swear an oath to defend the independence of the judiciary, is embarking upon a concerted campaign of doxing individual judges on social media, baselessly accusing them of bias for the crime of making rulings with which he disagrees, and exposing them to enormous risk through incendiary posts on Elon Musk's racist social media site. Sadly, rather than stand against this behaviour, both his own party and the government are turning a blind eye.
You'd love that answer, wouldn't you, Annabel?
Yeah. Yeah, and we've talked about Elon Musk on this podcast before, haven't we? This is part of the problem. The routine way the media reports on criminal justice matters is reactive. Where criminal commentators do respond, it's counter-reactive and often against the background of a particularly horrific allegation or offence. This is not a great way to educate the public. Have you come across any other instances of effectively communicating with the public in a more proactive way so the public has some baseline when they next click on the next headline?
I try, where time allows, to offer explainers of high-profile or contentious criminal cases, either in the form of a blog post or a thread on Twitter or Blue Sky, but as you say, it's reactive. It is very difficult to get ahead of these stories. The best I think we can hope for, as individual commentators, is that the lessons we have tried to teach in a previous case will remain with readers for the next similar case that they encounter. But that is far from a comprehensive strategy. Really, as I look at in fake law, a significant burden lies with the politicians and the media, too many of whom are quick to foment misunderstanding and fear in pursuit of cheap applause or a salacious headline.
The Secret Barrister, if you could fix one thing in the justice system, what would it be?
Or if you can't narrow it down, 3 things.
Oof, too many. At present, the most immediate problem is the delays in the criminal courts, record backlogs of cases and trials stretching years into the distance. This has all been caused by a lack of resources. We need more judges, more barristers, more solicitors, more courts, more court staff, more probation officers, more prison officers, more of everything. Politicians are casting around for ideas that don't involve spending money, such as abolishing juries. This is akin to trying to solve the problem of starving in the desert not by providing food, but by cutting off your foot. It defies sanity. Sadly, this looks like being the story of the next few years.
I agree with him there. I mean, it is insane just going, oh, well, let's just cut away one of the most fundamental parts of justice and one of the fundamental reasons why we have a system of fairness.
Well, if you could fix one thing in the system, Annabel, what would it be?
Throw money at the problem in the first place. So we need to address child and adult poverty, domestic violence, and mental health. Throw money at that. Addiction. Yeah, addiction. And then also looking at an alternative to prison for 90% of prisoners. And the prisons are only there for the absolute worst of them. And everyone else is on it in a rehabilitative. But it's all pie in the sky, isn't it? Because no one's going to do that.
I think that's it. You need to look at the causes of the offending, not looking at the offending as a problem. So it's not these people are criminals, they're committing crime, but why? And it's looking at those drivers and addressing those drivers. I think for me, the one thing I would fix is, just making it a fair system.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a wrap, I think, for the Secret Barrister. It's taken us a long time to get that FaceTime, as it were, FaceTime with him, her. I personally think it's a man. I think those are quite masculine answers. Things like oof is a male expression. I think I can't even imagine a female barrister going oof.
The only person I know who says oof is my 7-year-old.
Yeah, a male, 7-year-old male.
Yeah. 7-year-old boy.
So I think that went pretty well and gave us some food for thought, didn't it? And it's always quite inspiring to see that people are fighting the same fights over there. but he's really, or she has really got the attention of the media and the public.
World.
Yeah, in the world. So that's a nice thing to see. Did you have any other thoughts about today's episode, Sumudu?
I think it's just, no matter where you are, it seems like every justice system is facing the same problems.
But we wouldn't do any other job. We wouldn't have it any other way.
I wouldn't get out of bed for anything else.
Yeah, except just if it was just a lot better, that'd be good. If everything was fixed. All right, that was our podcast, That's Just Criminal, with me, Annabel Cresswell, and my co-host, Sumudu Thode. Thank you to LexisNexis.
Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Thank you for listening this far. Today's episode is brought to you by LexisNexis. Your LexisNexis legal research and AI technology experience is now even more powerful with Lexis Plus AI, now with Protégé, your personalized AI assistant that will transform your legal work. Find out more today at lexisnexis.co.nz.